So Donald Trump ran on no more wars, and MAGA really got behind that and pushed it. They would say, we don't want to see any more of our tax dollars go on all of these useless wars. And I always said to myself, hold up a minute. Now, this is something we can all agree on. We don't want any wars either. We should be able to come together and put politics aside and agree that we don't want any more wars. But when it comes to Donald Trump, everything to do with him is just another catchphrase and another cliche. He told us that he would end the war in Ukraine actually he said he would do it as president-elect. That didn't happen. He said, all I got to do is just get them in a room. It never happened. Then he said, I'll do it on day one. Just get them in a room. It'll be over in 5 minutes. Didn't happen. Then he got in a room with Zelensky, and we all saw that disaster. Completely embarrassed us on the world stage, and ever since, that's all he's been doing. He goes around taking credit for ending 7, 8, 9, 10 wars. Hell, I don't know how many he's said now. The number changes, sometimes mid-interview. And no one ever holds him to account and makes him explain himself at all. And they also don't make him explain himself when he just goes down to the Caribbean and starts just firing off on boats and then comes back and says, hey, we're just killing all the right people. So he went from no more wars to we're killing all the right people. And he does it under this guise of, well, hey, we're going after the drug dealers. We're stopping people from bringing drugs into the country. And we're over here saying, hey, we agree on that too. I have never met a liberal that said to me, boy, I tell you what, I want to see drugs just poured in this country. We all want to see them stopped from coming into this country, and we also want to see the people trying to bring them into this country put behind bars. But we believe in a thing called the Constitution. I keep a copy laying right here on my desk. We believe in due process, and we believe before you go firing off shots at people, first you should take it through Congress, and first of all, you should have evidence before you even bring the subject up. But so far, they just say we're killing all the right people, and MAGA takes their word for it. Now, Jessica Tarlov over on Fox News, she's someone whose job I would not want for all the money in the world. I cannot imagine what it has to be like to sit there every day with those douchebags and just have them say all their smart-ass Beavis and Butthead style of commentary, and that's actually an insult to Beavis and Butthead. But to sit there and try to talk sense to these people, I don't know how she does it, but I applaud her for it. And she does a good job in this next clip of trying to explain that none of this, by the way, is normal.
Well, I think that there's always a choice, and you're right about the demand issue, and I wish that we could do more about that. And this has been going on forever, that we have a drug consumption problem here and a drug supply problem coming from South and Latin America. So I totally get that. But when you're looking at how this fight is being executed at this particular moment, it doesn't make a lot of sense. First and foremost, the fact that no one can confirm that we've actually been taking out narco traffickers or huge drug traffickers, however you want to say it. And last week when we were talking about this, Dana had just seen the alert that the admiral in charge of the Southern Command had resigned. And he was the one who was in charge of this. And the reporting is that he wasn't comfortable with the mission and had been pushing back within the Pentagon. And do you think he would have resigned if everything was by the book? So we have 32 people that have been killed so far, 7 individual strikes. We know that the Colombian president is alleging at least that an innocent fisherman was murdered. We know that there's a family from Trinidad who's saying that a member of their family was killed. And then it is really important that we have repatriated 2 people, one to Colombia, one to Ecuador, because that indicates that we don't have any evidence to prosecute them, that we didn't know who these guys were. Because if you did have evidence, you would bring them before a court. And I know that you're going to make fun of me, and I am prepared for it each and every day. But drug traffickers also have rights. The law applies. We should have the evidence. They should be charged with something, and they should come before a court of law. And Rand Paul was on the Sunday shows this weekend, and he said to Kristen Welker, when you kill someone, if you're not in a declared war, which we are not, Congress with the war powers, you really need to know someone's name at least. You have to accuse them of something. You have to present evidence. So all these people have been blown up without any evidence of a crime. They're also saying that it's about fentanyl, and people who analyze the area are saying that there is drugs that go through, but it's mostly cocaine and marijuana that are headed actually to Europe and to Africa. So the government story is not adding up.
Folks, I would like to talk to you about Chapter. Medicare is supposed to benefit seniors, but it can be so confusing. And with many agents chasing commissions instead of caring about folks, millions of seniors end up on plans that aren't right for them every year, paying too much or not getting the care that they need. And that's just wrong. Listen, Medicare annual enrollment runs from October 15th through December 7th. Even if you like your current Medicare plan, it's critical to look at 2026 plans or you risk losing coverage you need. That's because plans change every year and some just disappear. That's why I want you to know about Chapter. They're the only advisors that check every plan nationwide to make sure you get one that works best for you. Their help is free and they can review your options in under 20 minutes. If you're on the right plan, they'll tell you. If not, they'll help you switch. By doing this, they've saved people an average of $1,100 a year. So call Chapter today, get it done fast, and rest easy. You can reach them at 314-732-0423. And you know what the most depressing part of that clip is? She's sitting there telling the truth. She's sitting there bringing the facts. She's telling it exactly like it is. And you've got this table of people, and she said, hey, I know y'all are going to make fun of me. And she has to sit there with them in that half circle, and they're just ready to pounce and make fun of her and laugh this all off like it's a joke and normalize and sane wash it. I know I use those phrases a lot, but that's exactly what the mainstream media does when they give Donald Trump a pass for this shit. And I don't care who you are in this world, even the most hardened of criminals deserves a fair trial. Now, yeah, there's always those certain situations when it's like bring them in dead or alive. But even in those situations, you have to have evidence for who you're going after. And I have to say this every time. If they can turn it on those people, they can turn it on you. If they can take the Constitution and the rule of law away from those people, they can and will do it to you. And MAGA just lives in this bubble where they think, oh no, that could never happen in our world. He would never do that to us. But he absolutely would do that to them and wouldn't think twice about doing it. And then you would have that half circle sitting there. I mean, I don't want to make predictions here. I sure don't want this to come true, but it would not surprise me one day if Donald Trump just turned it right on his own people. And then there's Jessica Tarloff on Fox News saying, hey, this ain't normal. He shouldn't be doing it to his own people. And here will be Jesse Waters sitting there like, oh, yeah, it's okay, and making a joke out of it. Because that's the crazy world that we live in now. You sit and you watch the news and you say, is this real? Like if I had went into a coma like in the 90s and let's say I was just waking up out of it, I would be looking around thinking that they had some sort of satirical, Mr. Show, Bob and David thing going. I'd be like, there's no way this is reality. There's no way that a lady is sitting on a news channel explaining this basic elementary school shit. And then you got grown men sitting there just making a joke about it and a president making a joke out of everything and just running over top of whoever he wants to, and nobody sees the serious nature of it. And when you try to call it out, you just get met with a bunch of Beavis and Butthead style rhetoric. And so how can you ever win? And how can you ever win when Donald Trump brought people into the conversation that is watching the government play out like a reality show? So to them, it's no different than when they're sitting there watching a reality show and they're watching someone get voted off. They think Trump can just do whatever he wants to. They think that the government can be ran with just like a reality show. And because, I'll be fair here, because government has never really worked for anybody and people have always struggled, and so many people have grown up in a world where they struggled and lived hand to mouth and could never get ahead in this world. Well, yeah, they look over at Donald Trump and he's doing all this shit, and to them it's like, well, at least he's doing something, man. At least he's trying. He don't give a shit. But they don't realize the danger in letting him do it. And they don't understand why we have the rules in place that we have, why we have the hoops in place that we have, that people are supposed to jump through. And I don't care who it is. Like she said, the biggest drug trafficker in the world. You can sit back and say, well, it's drug traffickers. Okay? You have to have evidence of that first. First and foremost, you have to have evidence. Second of all, even the most hardened of criminals deserve a fair trial. And you beat them there. And then you send them to jail for the rest of their life, or if the death penalty is on the table, go for it. Whatever you do, you make that decision there. The president is not here to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. It's not a reality show. That's not how this world is ran. But they all sat back and shouted, no more wars, no more wars. They never meant it. It was just a catchphrase. They never cared about grocery prices either. None of the things they ever cared about. They never cared about the Epstein files. None of the stuff they've ever ran on do they actually deep down care about. It's just a talking point so they can be the winner on their little reality show. But one day, that's all going to turn on them. It actually already has. We've already seen him say to them, hey, don't bring up Jeffrey Epstein again. That was a Democratic hoax. Don't bring his name up to me again. And we saw him just fall back in line. We saw him say prices are lower than they've ever been. Don't bring up that word affordability. And they all just fell back in line. And now he's saying, I'm killing all the right people. And they're like, hell yeah. What are they going to think when one day he thinks they're the right people? That's the million dollar question.